What's going on, everybody? It's a great day to be a Warzone player. Raven Software tweeted earlier and they put out the patch finally that fixed agency suppressors. Agency grew all of the Cold War suppressors, the last ones at least. Their version of the monolithics are back to their full potential. However, we are going to talk if it's going to be worth it on every single gun, and specifically the Aug, which we're going to be covering today. All right, the first thing I want to do is go ahead and talk barrels with you guys. Unfortunately, True Game Data hasn't updated all of their stats yet, but they have done the bullet velocity for the barrels, and honestly, that's the most important thing that we're going to talk about for now. Then we'll get to the recoil and the bullet spread and the different grips and also the different muzzles that you could or could not run depending on what your goals are. But specifically with the Aug, you're going to want to run the Strike Team barrel. So coming into Season 2, we saw a bunch of changes to all of the Cold War tactical rifle barrels. The titanium barrel actually saw a really big nerf where it barely or it doesn't give any more bullet velocity. JGod says it gives a little bit. True Game Data only has it on the fire rate, but regardless, it's very minimal. Whereas the Strike Team now gives 44% extra bullet velocity and a 9% fire rate. And that's going to be your new titanium barrel. The titanium barrel is why the DMR was so good. Without the titanium barrel, it started to fall off a little bit after it got its nerf. It's still okay with the Strike Team, but it's nowhere near its glory. And then the Task Force doesn't even do anything. So really, the only two you can choose between are Titanium and Strike Team. The Strike Team is going to be your go-to. Now, most people pre-Season 2 were starting to run the M16. The M16 was taking over Warzone. That was the go-to gun. Well, that's because the base bullet velocity on the Aug was lower than the M16. Going into Season 2, they actually buffed the Aug's base bullet velocity to match the M16's. And the Strike Team barrel gives more bullet velocity on the Aug than it does on the M16. It's only 22% on the M16 versus your 44% on the Aug. But even outside of that, you also have a higher fire rate. You have a total of an 8.8% fire rate increase on the M16, whereas on the Aug, it's 9.6. So not only are you having a higher bullet velocity, your total bullet velocity on the Aug ends up being 902, whereas on the M16 it's 806. So you're getting about an extra 100 meters per second bullet velocity increase on top of an extra percent of fire rate. And when it comes to trying to laser somebody with a tactical rifle that's burst, the faster that you can shoot it, the better off you're going to be. You're going to be able to compensate. You're going to be able to hit your spread more. You're going to be able to down them faster. And to be honest, if you used to love the M16, there's honestly no reason to not be running the Aug right now. All right, now that we've gone over barrels and bullet velocity with those barrels and the fire rate, we're going to go ahead and cover the foregrips and the muzzle attachments. Right here on the bottom left, we have the agency suppressor with the field agent foregrip. Up top, we have the SOCOM eliminator with the field agent. Over here, we have the SFOD speed grip with the agency suppressor, and then the same foregrip, but with the SOCOM eliminator. And I kind of wanted to go over and show you guys exactly the different bullet spreads, not just in your individual bursts, but then also full bursting. So all of these marks for right there is me dumping the full 45 round mag over and over and over and over. And that's one thing I did want to talk about. With the Aug and your burst rifles, it's not like an AR that's just going to keep like shooting up and left and right and like that kind of stuff. What you're really looking for is the tightest bullet spread possible. That way you can land the most consistent amount of shots with your burst. You're not having to really correct anything, but it's more just understanding the width and the height of the variation of your shots. Now, since the buff that came out earlier, the agency suppressor does so much, it's actually pretty crazy. You get sound suppression, vertical recoil control, bullet velocity, and effective damage range. And JGod actually just tweeted out that after you throw on the agency suppressor onto your Aug, you actually have 1100 meter per second bullet velocity instead of the 902, which is an 18% increase. Earlier in the video, I'd said once that data comes out, I'll let you guys know. Luckily, while I was recording, that actually came out. And honestly, that makes the agency suppressor so busted, you almost have to run it. Now, before, I wasn't sure because I didn't know just how much of bullet velocity that you were going to get. compared to losing the aiming stability. The SOCOM Eliminator, it gave us vertical recoil control and aiming stability. We did lose a little bit of horizontal, but I wanted to kind of show you guys the difference in the spreads. That way you could make a decision whether you wanted the sound suppression, the bullet velocity, or you wanted what, you know, sounded like it was going to be a tighter bullet spread. And if, you know, like I said, with a tighter bullet spread, you're going to land more of your shots. And as you can tell with the field agent and the SOCOM, I would say that that spread is definitely a little bit tighter, not just horizontally, but vertically, where you're going to be landing your shots a little bit more consistent. I was doing 3 bursts, like individual bursts as well across, and with the SOCOM you are a few of the times hitting 2 and then 1, hitting 2 and 1, hitting 2 and 1, whereas with the agency suppressor they are pretty close, but they are individually 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Now, all you really have to do, though, to correct that is with the AUG, instead of aiming directly for the head, aim for the upper chest, and you're just gonna 1 2 3 on your way up, maybe 1 chest shot and 2 headshots ideally. Now this one over here is with the SFOD speed grip in the agency and then the SOCOM. I did find it kind of interesting though, with the SFOD, you didn't really see as much improvement with the SOCOM Eliminator as you did over here with the field agent foregrip. Now with the SFOD, I will say though that it looks like with the agency suppressor, it stays just as consistent, if not a little bit tighter on your individual bursts, but then you also are just about as tight, if not a little bit tighter with your width, and just about the same horizontal, or just about the same vertical. So for me personally, I think right now that the agency suppressor and your SFOD grip is your best way to go. Whereas before, I was liking the field agent a little bit more with the SOCOM though, and those do actually pan out until you throw the agency suppressor on it. And it's very interesting to see how the different muzzles work with different grips a little bit more. And I've talked about this in previous videos, but I love the SFOD just because of the fact that you only lose movement speed. You don't lose ADS firing or firing movement speed. And when you are on a gun like the AUG that's a little bit slower moving anyways, it's definitely going to be nice not to have those negatives. And being able to have more sprint move speed so that you can rotate from position to position is going to help you out a little bit more. One other thing I did want to touch on briefly is the mag that I'm running. I'm running the 45 round fast mag because of the reload speed. The ADS time difference really isn't that much between the two guns. This is with the 45 fast mag and this is with the 45. The 45 is a little bit faster, but it's nothing that considerable. Then if you go ahead and spray it, go reload, it takes an eternity. Versus the fast mag, you can see just how big of a difference that is. True game data doesn't have the exact milliseconds for me, but I did want to show you guys for your own personal reference how much more important, like how much better it is to have the speed mag on this one instead of the drum. I know like on the Mac 10 it's not really worth it because it's only within a few milliseconds of each other for the reload time, but on your AUG you're hands down definitely going to be running the fast mag. And then we can go ahead and cover the rest of my overall build as well right now. All right, now that you guys pretty much know everything about this gun, why we build what, I just want to go ahead and briefly, you know, just cover everything one more time. On my AUG and my ideal loadout, I'm going to be running the agency suppressor, the 18.2 strike team barrel, the axial arms 3x scope, the 45 round mag, and the SFOD speed grip. Now the agency suppressor, as you guys saw, the bullet spread is pretty much exactly the same between the agency and the SOCOM. It's honestly even a little bit better than the SOCOM. When we run that SFOD, we get the sound suppression, the vertical recoil control, the bullet velocity, and the effective damage range. Thanks to JGod, we do know that it's 18% extra bullet velocity, bringing us up from 902 meters per second all the way to 1100 now with the agency suppressor, coupled with the strike team, which gives us 44% extra bullet velocity and 9.6% extra fire rate, hands down making it the best barrel and the only one to run. Obviously your optic, that is personal preference. I love the 3 times. I can still hit my shots up close with the 3 times, but it helps me at range. That is my preferred go-to. I don't know of any extra stats or benefits that optic gives you, but that is my go-to optic. As far as the ammunition goes, as you guys saw, the 45 round speed mag is definitely that seemed like at least a half a second to 3/4 of a second faster reload time than the 45 round drum. The 45 round drum obviously doesn't give you the ADS speed penalty, but with it being a more long range gun, I don't think it's quite as worth it. And for me, the 54 is too much of a negative as far as your ADS speed goes. And this thing's such a laser beam. I think that the 45 round mag is the happy medium. The 45 round speed mag is your happy medium. And then as far as underbarrels go, I mean, once again, I'm going to let the previous comparisons speak for themselves as far as bullet spread goes. I felt like the SFOD with the agency suppressor had the tightest bullet spread, and this grip, in my opinion, is probably the better grip as well. It says that you lose a little bit of movement speed. I've never really noticed that too much. You also get sprint move speed, so if you're moving from position to position, you're going to be able to do that a little bit faster without having to swap guns. If you're running like Aug and FFAR or Aug, Bullfrog, MAC-10, whatever, whatever your preferred loadout is. Whereas a field agent, you would be losing that firing movement speed and ADS firing move speed. And with it having a little bit wider bullet spread and it having more negatives, I definitely, in my opinion, feel like the speed grip is the only way to go. But as always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, make sure you smash a like. If you want to be able to come back for every time I'm posting a new video and know exactly when I post it, make sure you click that bell and turn notifications on and smash that sub.